Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you've been asking for it and we're going to be sharing with you all about our health situation here in Kuala Lumpur and how I ended up having unexpected surgery here.
Yeah, we're going to plan here to tell you what happened, how you can do it, and what we would do differently through this whole process because we both had things done. So we're going to go over everything that you need to know about healthcare in a foreign country. First of all, our situation though. Our situation is that we do have global health insurance through IMG. It does have a $5,000 deductible and we pay $240 a month for that. And an important part is that we've only had this insurance now for about 4 months. So that will come in later on as an important thing. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia is where we are, and it is known among expats as being a great place to get health care, get your health checkups done. So we have known this. We have never done it here before, but we knew this. And we knew it was coming up on about time to do some stuff, so we booked a month here. And we're in an Airbnb here for a month, and we said we'll go there. We'll see what the deal is, because it's pretty hard to find information online about what would actually happen when we went down this path. We had no idea. So we booked a month, and then we said if we get it done, fine. If we don't, we'll come back a few months later and get it done then, and we'll know then how much time we would need. So came for a month, and we're still here in this month, and that's what we showed up with.
Yes, and it's probably one of the things that people ask us the most about is what if something happens when, you know, you're in a foreign country or whatever the case may be, right? People ask us all the time. So here it is. And as Rob said, Kuala Lumpur is known as a great place to come and take care of health needs, health screenings, all that kind of stuff. So about a month before we arrived here, we were still in Thailand, and we started the process to try to get appointments because we weren't sure how long it was going to take. If you're in the US and you're making appointments with specialists and trying to do full health screenings and blood work and all that kind of stuff, it can take a month or two to get an appointment. So we thought we better start trying now, a month out before we arrive, so that hopefully we can, you know, get something while we're there. And so started actually by texting via WhatsApp, which is really kind of funny to text a hospital and doctor's offices about making an appointment when you're in a totally different country. But got to a point where we actually needed to call and talk to them. So we did that and went ahead and set up our appointments. We were doing health screenings, and then I've had some unknown health issues and was trying to get that all figured out. And so I made an appointment actually with an OBGYN as well as the health screening stuff.
Yeah.
So we had that all kind of set.
The hospital we were going with is called Gleneagles. It's Gleneagles Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And so we just started texting their main number, and they gave us the number to an OBGYN and told us about the health screening and all that. So you got your appointment pretty quickly after about 2 phone calls. And the great news was the appointment was set for 3 days after we arrived in Malaysia. So there was no like wait a month to get an appointment. We got in with the actual doctor 3 days after. I had a little more trouble getting my appointment I just was trying to get a health screening, like a whole panel of health. And I had a lot of trouble getting someone to respond to me. And later I found out it was because it's just easy to walk in and get that. So I just kind of gave up on that and decided when I get there, I'll see what happens. But so we got an apartment here, we got an Airbnb, we're in this one right here right now, the Star Residences, which is a great one if you're going to do this. And the hospital is about 2 miles away, so on the morning of her appointment, we got a Grab car, which is like Uber. It's about $1.50, $2 to get to the hospital in a car. And so we showed up in the morning, and tell us how your appointment went.
All right, so we arrived a little bit early, about 30-ish minutes early, and went ahead and went up. We figured out where we needed to be, asked at the main entrance, the Grab dropped us off at the main hospital, and so we just asked that information there. How do we get to this doctor's office? They told us, oh, that's the next building over, just go this way, gave us directions. We got over there, went up to the doctor's office, and went in to check in, and we were a little bit too early, so she said you could either sit here or sit someplace else, walk around, whatever, come back. So we did. We left, and we just went down and sat down in the waiting area of the actual building that we were in. There were several other people there waiting as well for other doctors, I think. And so after waiting for a little bit, we went back up. At the time she said that the doctor would be back, filled out the initial paperwork for, new patient, which wasn't very much. Normally when you're a new patient, it's like, a thesis worth of papers that you have to fill out with history and all that kind of stuff. This was basically a couple of sheets that you needed to fill out and sign, just a rudimentary kind of background information and what you were there for. We were sitting there waiting, and after just a few minutes, we actually heard some heels in the hallway, and the girl looked up from the desk and said, "Here comes the doctor, you can go." And the second she walked in, she started talking to us right away and said, "Come on, let's go to my office." So we walked with her back to her office, and she was asking me, why are you here? All those kinds of things, talked all those things through. And then she said, "You know what? Let's take a look at this, because, I'm hearing a couple things that make me want to, get a better look at what your situation is." So she decided to do an ultrasound. She herself did the ultrasound right there in a room that's connected to her office. And so we went in there and took a look at that, and she saw that, well, she didn't see much except for one thing, a very large fibroid that was covering pretty much all of my organs and a lot of things in the front part of my body. So she said, "I basically can't see much except for this big thing sitting here." She said, "You don't want that sitting in there very long. You're gonna have to get that taken out. That's been in there for a while," which was really quite shocking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was shocking, and she said it was about 6 inches in diameter, so
yeah,
pretty big, and pretty much needed to come out
as
quickly.
soon as possible.
So she started talking about surgery right away, and
Yep.
we agreed that that was what needed to happen. And then she said, "We need to get some blood work done for you to just go ahead and get that done so we can be prepared for the surgery." And so instead of sending us to a lab or a tech, they had another room right next door to that one where they draw blood, and the doctor actually drew your blood herself.
Exactly. Not only did she do my ultrasound, she also drew my blood. She's talking with me this whole time, giving me options, telling me, possibilities, all that kind of stuff. She wants to run the full panel. So instead of doing the health screening, she went ahead and basically ran all my blood work that I would have been doing in the health screening. So that kind of took care of 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was really great to be able to do that. And then after she took my blood, then she said, "Let's go ahead and schedule your surgery." She got out her book. We were back in her office again, and she said, "Let's see how soon we can get you in." And in less than a week, she said, "I can get you in here." She called the OR herself and scheduled it, told them what all she needed. And the next thing I knew, I was up at the desk paying for our visit.
Yeah, so the surgery was scheduled for, I think it was a week after the day that we got there, and she was trying to do it on Saturday, which would have been only 5 days or 4 days after our appointment. But that Saturday she was already full on surgery, so it was then scheduled for Tuesday, so a week after our initial appointment. So that's crazy to think that we could walk in, get an appointment, and so the surgery was scheduled for 10 days after our arrival, after we landed in Malaysia. We had a surgery scheduled. Pretty crazy. So we walked up to pay, didn't really know how much it would be. We knew it wouldn't be exorbitant, and it was $133 for the office visit. She spent about an hour with us doing everything, and the line items were the consultation was $48, the ultrasound was $25, and the blood work was $60. So that's not going through our insurance. We just paid cash for that without putting it through the insurance, mostly because there really wasn't just time to do that, and we could go ahead and submit it later on if we wanted to. So the surgery was scheduled for a week later. Now after that, we decided I still had not had my appointment for my health screening.
We were like, oh boy.
So we walked over then to the health screening department, which was in the 5th floor of building B, and just walked up there and walked up to the desk and said, hey, I've been trying to get an appointment, can't do it. And they said, oh, we'll make you one right here. And so it turned out it's kind of more of a walk-in, get an appointment thing. They're not really set up to make appointments over the phone or texting and that. So they gave me an appointment, funny enough, for the day before her surgery, which was the day she was going to be admitted, because they admit you the night before your surgery here in case they want to have anything else done. So you stay in the hospital an extra night. So Monday of next week was going to be a big day. I was getting my stuff done, and that was the day you were going to be admitted. So 8 o'clock rolled around, and that was when my appointment was. And we showed up at the 5th floor hospital for the health screening, and it was pretty interesting. We're going to put on the screen here in a minute everything that's included with that health screening, but here's what is included. Basically, you get a consultation with the doctor, and then they do a physical with you, your blood pressure, all of that stuff. AI retinal screening, which was kind of crazy. I didn't think that would be included, but it was. We'd had that done actually in Georgia before we left, and by our eye doctor, but they did it here again. All your blood work, a chest x-ray, an ECG, and then another doctor review of all of the reports and the tests. So all of that, the total cost, again without insurance, just paying self-pay, was $118. Now, that's pretty crazy low, because I know that our AI retinal screening in Georgia was more, basically any of the things we had done was more than the $118 in the United States. A couple of line items for you off the bill that I have here. The ECG was $7, the chest x-ray was $8.17. Just crazy cheap. So the way that it works is, it's pretty cool. You walk in and you go in and you take a number. When you check in, you get one of these numbers, and it has your number on it. Like I was number 21, and then there's a bunch of stations. So like ECG, there's a chest x-ray, there's blood work, little rooms like set up like kind of like a, not a conveyor belt, but like a
like an assembly line type thing.
And each room has a monitor outside, and it flashes up numbers, and when your number flashes on, then that's the room you go in and you have your test done. Then you come out, you sit in a little waiting room, and you wait for your number to pop up somewhere else.
Some other screen, you're like, oh, there it is.
You go to that one, you get all this stuff done. It took about 2.5 hours. So I was done with all my, it was pretty thorough testing. And I had the lesser package. You could get more done, but I had quite a bit done. And I was done at about 10:30. So the way it works is you're done with your testing, and then they actually set you an appointment that day to review your blood work with the doctor in the afternoon. So at 2:45 was my appointment to come back to talk to the doctor about everything. So one day you're in and out, not like at home where you do your blood work and they're going to call you 3-4 days later. This is just a quick one day, you get the whole thing done. It's really quite efficient. So we had till 2:45 for me, but remember, this is the day she's being admitted. So we went and got lunch then, because I had been fasting, and she had to start fasting after that. So we had a little window of lunch at 11 a.m.
A small window where we could both eat.
So we ate at 11, and then we went down to admission, and you were admitted at 1 p.m.
Okay, well, first of all, I brought my bag packed when we went to the hospital for his 8 o'clock appointment, because it didn't make any sense to come back and then go back to the hospital. So we figured we'll just stay at the hospital, just go around to everything together in case he needed something or whatever. So we were both there. So I had my bag packed. It wasn't a lot, because I mean, what do you really need at the hospital? They provide you with the hospital gown, so you don't really need clothes, and just basically undergarments and toiletries is what I had in there, and then just a couple things like a outlet adapter, which I did take to the hospital with me. And then, yeah, so checked in, and once I got all checked in, during the check-in process, though, they also talked to the insurance company for getting approval or pre-approval for the process to start it that way. So from the check-in area or the admission area, they took me over to the insurance area and then back to the admission area. So during that part, I went ahead and paid our deposit. They asked for a deposit. And then so we did that, paid the deposit. They processed everything. And then it was time to actually go to my room. Now, something also that is interesting is that they have all different types of room options, from shared rooms with 2 to 4 patients, to a single private room, to a premium room, to a suite, to a presidential suite. All different types of options they have, which is really so crazy that they have so many different options for you to choose from. And obviously, you know, the prices all go along with that. So I was just going to be in a single private room. I didn't need anything fancy. I was hoping to not stay for too long, so it didn't really matter. As long as I had a single room, I was pretty good with that. So once I finished all of my admission process, sat in the waiting area, and he said, you can either sit here and wait until your room is ready, or we can have a porter take you up to the International Patient Lounge. So I chose that option because I'd never heard of a hospital with an International Patient Lounge.
Yeah, so there's a little brochure here about the lounge, and it does talk about in here all the services they provide, and it's stuff like language interpretation, visa application and extension. So if you get in a situation where you have to stay longer, they'll help you extend your visa, airport transfer, currency exchange, international billing. Basically, they're there to help you because they know you don't speak Malay, but that's not really an issue because I don't think I ever heard anything other than English spoken in the hospital or written anywhere in the hospital. That's one of the reasons people come here, is because English is the de facto language. Everybody here speaks English, and really well. So it's not a problem at all. Probably the most, other than, you know, England or Australia, something like that. Probably the country with the most English spoken of any that we've ever been to. So English not a problem, but they do have that International Patient Lounge, which is pretty neat and pretty good for people. Now, I did want to mention too that we did choose Gleneagles because when we were looking at our insurance, which was IMG, there's a page on their website that says, you know, it's global insurance, but you want to be in network. So they had a page that you could see what was in network, and it just so happened that Gleneagles was in network for our insurance. So that was one of the reasons that we picked it also. So while you were waiting in the International Patient Lounge, 2:45 rolled around, and it was time for me to go get my review. So I walked over, met the doctor. They got me right in, no waiting, and they gave me a CD of all my tests. They gave me a big, huge pamphlet with all my reports in it, and they got pictures of my eyes, my ECG test, all the blood work. She went over every single thing, telling me what might have been high, what was low, what was perfect, what was in range, everything. That was great. So that was about 20-25 minutes worth, and then I had already paid for that all, so I just walked out afterwards, came back and met Allie, who was about to go get her MRI done.
Yes, so while he was getting his test results, I got checked into my room, and I was being prepped to be taken down for an MRI. And once that was done, then the doctor also wanted to, she was super, and one thing I can say about the doctor, many things I could say, but one great thing too was that she was very knowledgeable, and she wanted to have as much knowledge as possible going into the surgery. And because the fibroid was blocking so much. She wanted to make sure that she could see everything and that she knew exactly what she was going in there, what she was going to see when she got in there for the surgery. So she also ordered a full CT scan as well. So later on in the evening, I also had the CT scan, which was basically going to light everything up for her with contrast, so that she could see everything and she just wanted to be as careful as possible and see as much as possible, so that when she got in there, she knew exactly what she was looking at, and it was going to make things a little bit easier for her than to discover things once she had already gotten in there.
Yeah, and so the surgery was the next day at 1 p.m. and I just waited in the room. Visiting hours were 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. You were allowed to order food up there if you wanted, and so that was pretty good. So I just waited in there, ordered myself some lunch because they were feeding her but not me. You know, food ordering is real cheap, about $4 or $5. You can get a meal ordered over there. So I did that. The doctor did come back and say the surgery was much more complicated than they originally thought, and it did take longer. There was a lot more going on once because they couldn't really see it all, even though they had all those tests done because it was so big. But it did go really well. They got everything, and it was perfectly done. So a couple hours later, they brought Allie back to the room, and she was basically kind of tired and in pain for the next night. And ended up staying 2 more nights in the hospital.
Yes, and I actually was offered yet another night if I wanted to. They're very cautious, and they just want you to have every opportunity to rest up as much as you can before you head home. The staff, I have to say, at the hospital was absolutely amazing. Everyone was so kind, so extremely helpful. We even had a few laughs together because a couple times when Rob was not in the room, if a nurse hadn't seen him before in there with me, sometimes they thought I was Malaysian. So they would walk in and start talking to me in Malay, and I would look at them with my deer in the headlights look in my face like, oh my gosh, I don't know what she's saying to me. And then she would quickly realize that and switch to English, which was amazing. I would have a little bit of chuckle. By the end, I told him, I think I understand what you're saying now. But it was a really good experience. They were just so kind and so extremely helpful at the hospital. It was really such a kind of surreal experience, really, to be in a hospital in a foreign country, having them speaking in English to you. It was just kind of, just kind of odd, but good.
So while she was in recovery on day 2 after the surgery, I got an email from the insurance, from IMG, and it was basically saying that the surgery was now not approved. And so that was a little bit shocking to me. But, you know, it really ended up wasn't a big deal. It was rightfully denied by them at the end of the day because the surgery that they did have a 6-month waiting period on it when you got the insurance. And as I said before, we've only had this insurance for 4 months. Now, we weren't really concerned about this though. And the reason was because before we did the surgery, the doctor and the hospital, when we checked in, gave us an estimate of what the surgery was going to cost. And the estimate was 10,000 to 17,000 ringgits. And so if you do the quick conversion, that is somewhere between $2,500 and $3,500. And so we thought to ourselves, it's November and this surgery is not even going to meet our deductible. Everything that we're going to do here at the hospital is not going to even come close to meeting our deductible. So we put it through the insurance anyway, just to see what would happen. We did find out what happened was they denied it, but it didn't really end up costing us anything. Now, her surgery did end up costing a little bit more because it was much more complicated and they did need to do extra tests. So the total surgery cost was $4,300 for everything out the door. Paid them with our credit card and just walked out the door. Easy process. And that is an incredible bargain. I'm going to give you a couple of ideas of what some line items were. So like the room and board for the hospital room and her meals for the 4 days and 3 nights, it was $195 for that. It's crazy, like $67 a night for room and board.
You can barely get a hotel.
Yeah. So it was extremely cheap, and we knew it would be inexpensive. Kind of interestingly though, when we looked online before we got to Malaysia, if you look at the estimates even in Malaysia or Thailand for the surgery she had, the estimates do run $6,000 to $7,000 US. So we were surprised. That's what we were prepared to pay. We thought what was going to happen was we would pay $5,000 for the deductible and the insurance would pay the other $1,000 to $2,000. Got to the doctor and they said, it's probably going to be more like $3,000 to $4,000. And then it ended up being $4,300. So really, if you're doing this type of surgery and you don't have, a big complication, you're probably going to be more on the lower end of that. The low end of the estimate was 10,000 ringgits, which is more like 2,000 something dollars. So pretty crazy that you can get major surgery and be in the hospital all that time for that amount of money.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. And honestly, as we think and kind of reflect on it, like, would you do something differently? We really just wouldn't do anything differently. As far as Rob's part is concerned, his health screening, I mean, we knew beforehand what services they provided. And, again, the hospital was highly rated. It's not just here in Kuala Lumpur. There are several Gleneagles branches in different places in Malaysia and in other Southeast Asian countries. But we know that they were offering very good service and just really good reviews. Same thing with my doctor. I got the recommendation, but I also did my part by reading reviews, going online, reading about her, and just proved to be really fantastic experience.
Yeah, as far as mine goes, I wouldn't worry about getting an appointment until I got here, because I had a month to get it done, and it really didn't take any near that long. And I think we were just really overly concerned about getting this done in a month. And what we found out was, we landed 10 days later, we were home from surgery and back in our Airbnb apartment, and we had both done everything we needed to do. So really pretty wild that you can get that done in 10 days. We gave ourselves a month. We really didn't think it would get done in that month. We thought we'd have to come back, but yeah, that's not the case here. You can come in and just basically, from our experience, get stuff done pretty quickly and very cheaply and done very well.
Yeah, so like Rob said, overall great experience. If this is something that you are looking for, hopefully this is the information you were wanting. If you have any questions, leave those for us down below in the comments section so others can see your questions as well. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more like this and give us a like on this video. We'll see you next time.